Testing, 1, 2, 3, we're on.
Okay. I'd like to call the April 30, 2018 meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order with a call to roll starting to my right.
Vaughn Morgan.
Chester Duraki.
Paul Sanderson.
Jim Rolston. Chip Huzzy.
Okay, the first item of business was we were to meet Elizabeth Treader with the Police Department's Administrative Assistant. Looks like we've accomplished that. Okay. And then now Mark Rocky. Sorry. Okay.
Mark is our new treasurer.
Yes.
He comes to us from the budget committee, so he has plenty of experience understanding where our money goes.
Good.
And he's made a good transition.
And I think I've met most of you. I remember Paul from some of the budget meetings that we used to have, and I met you two guys. I think Marge introduced me to you. I think, Chester, you're the only one I haven't met.
Nice to meet you. And Vaughn, I know he's just down the street from me. Yep.
Yeah, just to give you a back, I think maybe you saw my resume, but I retired at the end of last year from Lonza after 27 years. Not all here, but kind of all over the place. If you can detect my accent, I'm from Kentucky, so been moving around a little bit. But my wife and I moved here in 2008, and we've got kids all over the place. But since retiring, I'm also part-timing as a chauffeur for Great Bay and limousine, so that's been keeping me busy as well. So.
Free rides to the airport for the selectmen?
Just thought I'll talk to Richard.
Check out the ethics policy.
Okay, well, welcome. And please, if you have any questions of us, please let us know. We'll try to work on that.
Thank you.
Okay, next, the Weeks Library Trustees.
Gosh, you've managed to accomplish so much in 30 seconds. Well, here we are again, y'all. This evening we are here because we have selected Lavallee Brensinger Architects as our architect for the library project. And the building committee chairperson, Craig, is here to walk you through the rationale of our selection process. And then we are also going to ask if we can get agreement on a payment schedule that has been presented to us by the architects. So
Okay.
I'm going to turn the floor over to Craig and move over here.
So we do appreciate the opportunity to go over this. The architect selection is critical path for the project, and we're going to focus on that tonight. Later on in the month, or next month, we might talk about construction manager and so on, but want to discuss architect this evening. So there we go. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way so I don't hit my back to everybody. So 5 main things I want to talk about, and I'll just be speaking for 10 to 15 minutes, and questions and comments, it's up to you. So first of all, I thought we'd go over the qualifications of the building committee. We've given a lot of thought to architect selection. We're having discussions in regard to construction manager, which we'll cover later. We've engaged some world-class consultants, one of whom is here this evening. We want to give you just a brief outline of the reasoning behind the architect selection, talk about the coordination between the library trustees and the selectmen, and then go over next steps. So we have 5 committee members for the building committee, and our function is to give recommendations to the library trustees. So these are roughly the qualifications of the 5 people. First one is Dale's been a library trustee for 12 years. He has the history. He's not well this evening, so he's not with us. But he was involved personally in the 2008 upgrades to the Weeks Library, so he's very knowledgeable. We have a retired school headmaster, Dane, over here, and is a very modest guy. But he has 35 years of experience in education, was headmaster at 2 private schools, and has a blog where he's really a consultant for education, and it's an excellent addition to have a library focus with him giving us guidance. Len Schwab is a retired professional engineer, 50 years experience, expert in communications, electronics. I joke with him if we ever want to get the space station to send down some images for us, he'll know how to do it. Director of the Weeks Library, Denise, is over there. You all should know Denise. 12 years with us, 31 years experience as a librarian, and she was involved in the past in planning for a $6 million new library. So excellent judgment as far as what's important. Last one is retired engineer, 30 years of experience. I've been involved in engineering design, project management, and mostly contract negotiation. Consultants. So we show Brenda here as a retired administrator of 3 different firms. You want to just throw out a sentence or two? No?
Well, I was happy to be asked to come and talk to them about the contract negotiations and the AIA documents and things that are very industry standard.
Okay.
And what is your last name?
Richards?
Thank you.
She was a resident for 60 years in town, correct? And she's written 2 books on the subject of proper way to hire an architect. So she's an outstanding resource. We also have a retired civil engineer with 34 years project management experience, projects over $2 billion. And then, last but not least, Peter Laughlin, who's written books on municipal law and helps us coordinate with you folks. So, reasons for selecting LaValle Brensinger. Number 1, they were selected after an extensive pre-bond RFQ process. We looked at I wasn't present at the time, but the trustees looked at over 12 firms, architecture firms. LaValle was the successful bidder and clearly have proven themselves over the last year and a half. Their fees are consistent with those charged other libraries. It's a very open market. Libraries are very willing to share with us what they've been paying or had to pay. Meredith in particular, just last month, completed a process where they looked at competitive bids of LaValle and 2 other firms, and we have a bar chart that we can show you that indicates that LaValle was low bid and low total cost of construction for Meredith. The voters approved the project based on the vision, which included the LaValle design. A new architect would have to start over from scratch. And if you think about all of the meetings that we've had with the planning board, the selectmen, presentations with the voters, if we were to now take up a new architect, they would have to start from scratch because they could not use the design that we have. The design that we have now is copyrighted.
But we paid for that design, so that shouldn't be, that's our property.
We paid $29,000, which is, we paid them to prepare it, but that doesn't give us ownership or the right to use it. That's customary.
Unfortunately, he's right.
Industry standard.
That's
Yeah.
so that's well, it's customary.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So the above 2 points, if we started with a new architect, we would have a delay of several months. We would go through costs. We'd have to produce another conceptual design. May or may not have to get voter input to that new design. So there are a lot of reasons why staying with Lavalley just makes sense. Point 7, the guaranteed maximum price, which we have and which was basis for the bond, would no longer be valid. And number 8, no competitors have comparable experience. Ron Lamar, that you've all met, has designed over 20 libraries. Nobody comes close in this part of the country. Any questions on that? Okay? So, why are we here? So we're looking at RSA 202, and this is where Peter Laughlin is very helpful. This is in regard to the authority of the library trustees to expend all monies raised and appropriated by the town or the city for library purposes, and shall direct that such monies be paid over by the town or city treasurer pursuant to a payment schedule as agreed between the library trustees and the selectmen. All right, so
Do you want the next slide?
yeah. So what are those fees? So Lavalley has proposed a total fee of $285,000 that is well in line with what other libraries in New Hampshire have been asked to pay. It's very competitive. The payment schedule is, there are progress payments. So there are 5 different payments. Schematic design is about 25%, is exactly 25%. Then design development, construction documents, bidding phase, and then during construction. So time-wise, when is this? Schematic design, assuming approval this evening, schematic design is over the next 6 weeks. So 25% in mid-June. Design development would then take us through mid-July. Construction documents through mid-August. So we're talking about approximately $210,000 to be spent over the next 3.5 months. Bidding phase, that's primarily in September, the way the schedule is organized. And then, of course, construction, we've been talking about in the past the 12 to 16 month schedule. So, say 14 months from now, this payment will, actually it's billed monthly, so but over that period. So this is what the current draft contract indicates with Lavalley. And by the way, Peter Laughlin has reviewed this and found it all in order and sees no fatal flaws. So that, if you want to speak to it for the trustees.
Well, all I would like to say is that we are going to need agreement to make these payments to Lavalley. I guess we're going to have a mechanism, and I don't know what it is, to remove money from our capital reserve fund.
Okay. I guess the mechanism is that I believe selectmen are agents to expend. Okay. But Karen, can you tell us, I know you're working with bond counsel.
Yep.
And what can you tell us about that?
All the documents have gone to bond counsel regarding looking at the deed issue, which is question number 1. So Divine Willamette and Branch has been, I've signed the agreement with them for them to start this process. So they're reviewing the deeds now. They have sent me the list of all the documents that they need, along with a list of 14 banks that they will work with for funding. So as soon as we get the answer to the deeding issue, I'll then do the RFP out to those 14 financial institutions. It's not prudent for us to wait for the bond bank. The bond bank rates were roughly the same, if not a little bit higher, than what I'm seeing on the open market.
You getting any preliminary information back on the reversion?
No, I'm not. I pointed the concerns out, and Attorney Linnell Lhuirre, I don't know,
Perfect.
Lhuirre, only because I couldn't pronounce it, is the same attorney that we worked with from Divine Millimet on our bonding for Dearborn Road.
Okay.
She's the one that looked at it, and she has passed it on to one of her colleagues that she said is much more in tune with that, and then she would be getting back to me. And that was all around Wednesday or Thursday of, not last week, while I was away the week before.
Okay. I think I've talked to you about how concerned I am about those two things.
Well, I don't understand what the concern is, Paul, I really don't.
Sure,
So-
let me go through it. When the land was conveyed, okay, it was subject to a condition that it be used forever as a library.
Correct.
Okay. What that means is it doesn't create what you're used to when you buy a house, which is a fee simple absolute title.
Mhm.
All that has to happen is if tomorrow it was not used as a library, title to the land goes back to one family, title to the building goes back to another family. Okay? It doesn't matter what our intention is today.
Mhm.
We're talking about a bond that could be 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the term that's selected. Nobody in this room will be in charge when the bond is finally paid.
Okay,
And so the point is, will a bank loan any money if title can be lost?
well, my concern and argument would be, this has been the town's library for 120 years, and it's going to continue to be the town's library for the next 120 years. We're not, I don't
Well,
see. that
except
there's
we
been-
can't, none of us here today can promise that. I can't promise what the next Board of Selectmen will do or what the next Library Board of Trustees will do.
Okay.
And so if a decision was made, we're not using this as the library anymore, then the land is lost, the building is lost. Okay? And to make it really complicated, the land goes back to the Clough family, and the building goes back to the heirs of Carolyn Weeks, who is Katie White,
Gotcha.
as well as probably several dozen other members of the Weeks family. And that, to the extent that the people who are examining title find that to be a problem, it's a huge problem, because you would have to get the release of those interests on the building from everyone in the White family, and, the Weeks family.
Yeah.
And if we took a look at the membership of the heirs of Leonard Weeks that
Oh,
owned
yeah,
the
I
brick
know.
building,
Yeah.
that huge number of people.
Right.
And the Clough family, I don't think any of us even know. Paul, you knew the name, but.
They're all up at the cemetery, the ones I know.
Exactly, I
I
just
don't know if any's around.
Yeah, if that's a problem, then it's one that would be very difficult to solve.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, Paul, but in
Well, and the
the
reason I
standpoint that
said,
we've shown for 120 years that it's been the town library, I just don't understand what possible concern an attorney could have that we're going to abandon it in the next 20 years before a bond's paid
Well,
off.
if I may, we heard you earlier on this
Mhm.
point, and so I did take what documents we had and reviewed them with Peter. And so he's on this issue. I think that it's manageable, but aside from that, would it be prudent for the town 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now to change things so that this asset is lost? I mean, would that be a prudent thing to do?
oh, I'm not arguing that it would be a great idea. I'm just saying, if it were to happen for whatever reason, something we can't even predict, and again, it wouldn't be a decision made by anyone here, and title were lost, then at that point you still have to pay back the bond, but there is no more building, there is no more land. The title to it is gone. And so my thought is that before we spend what is a pretty substantial sum of money, and I don't think it's unfair or anything else, but before we spend it, we darn well better know that we have a project.
Well, how long do we anticipate it's going to take Karen to hear from this?
I honestly don't know. I was on vacation all last week, so I have not followed up with her since she got the documents.
Okay.
They're an excellent, excellent firm. I don't think they're gonna drag their feet at all. And there may be a way that they can clear the title with, you know, a public notice in the newspaper for so many days, or there may be.
Whatever.
Right,
Again, I'm not trying to do that work. I'm just trying to say,
Right.
it is a real problem.
okay,
And so, for me, my thought would be to delay our decision until we know the answer to that underlying question. Because I just don't want to see anyone wasting money. I mean, if it can't be solved, then there is no project.
okay.
Paul, would it be possible for the selectmen to execute an agreement that says the town will not do what your concern is?
No, because I can't promise anything that binds a future board, a future town meeting, a future library board of trustees. I just can't do it.
The
Okay,
law doesn't let them do it. You can't do it.
Well, you know, it would be wonderful if I could say the town of Greenland will do X in the year, 2023, but I can't. We don't have that authority.
Well, I guess, I understand you're saying that it's possibly could happen. There is a cost in delaying,
I understand.
so we'd have to weigh that cost. I mean, these are busy times, and
Well, I guess my
This
hope
area.
would be that we could get some answer on this as to whether or not it's a real problem and what corrective action is needed.
yeah, I'll follow up with her within a couple of days.
Yeah.
Like, today was just like,
You were back from vacation.
actually, and I came back yesterday, worked yesterday too, so that I could keep caught up or get caught up.
And I'm not trying to delay, it's just, I don't want us committing to thousands and thousands of dollars of expenses until this basic underlying problem is known.
Okay.
would it be possible for the selectmen to state that if this problem is resolved, let's say the town council's satisfaction, then you have the agreement?
What I can do is this. First of all, it's on our agenda until we know the answer. Okay, and secondly, if we know the answer within a few days, we've recently done a special meeting and we can do one again if we have to. I understand that they're trying to get underway and understand if they have a job or not.
Right, and there isn't a current withdrawal needed, right?
I'm sorry?
You don't have a current withdrawal needed immediately?
No.
Okay,
No, I'm not sure I understand that, but we have no obligation.
You don't need cash right today.
You don't need anything right now.
Oh, that's correct.
We haven't signed a contract.
And I think that's prudent.
Right. Okay, let me just, for clarification, also understand what the mechanic will be though, because we will be drawing those initial funds from our capital reserve fund.
Yes.
How will that work? Will we go to the trustees of the trust fund to request a release of those funds?
now, a vote from the library trustees to approve the payment of the $71,250 for schematic design.
Okay,
Get that to me the Thursday before we have a meeting on the following Monday.
okay,
The board will see that. If they're happy with it at the same time, that they'll say, we approve it. It'll be signed off that day.
okay.
And I would, just to mention, I would urge you to try to schedule your payments so that they coincide with the board meetings. If we have to do special meetings, we have to do them, but if we don't have to do them, we prefer not to. So if you can coincide those
With the
payments.
twice a
to-
month meetings.
Yeah.
Right. Well, just as an example, we got a bill from the town attorney through Elizabeth Cummings today. Is that going to muddy the waters for payments or anything like that, once we've approved it?
Once you've approved it, get it down to us, yeah?
Okay, okay,
Then it comes back on an ordinary manifest and we pay it.
Yeah,
okay.
because we'll be tracking all of the capital project expenses in one line. The trustees of the trust funds will send over the money to us. We'll have it in one line, and it will just work like it'll work like a checking account from the general fund, but totally accounted for individually.
Okay.
As a capital project.
Okay, all right.
And I hope we get the answer quickly.
I do too.
If what I fear is the truth, it won't be a quick answer. I hope I'm wrong. others will determine.
Okay. Right, and it's probably not the first library that's faced this, because it was common practice back in the
Exactly.
1800s.
Yes, I know, many of them have that.
Right,
Okay,
But this one's a little bit unique because there's two different ones.
okay. All right.
So,
Anything else?
I think I'd like to take 5 minutes to talk about next steps,
Okay.
assuming that we get over this hurdle.
Okay.
and I can certainly for myself say with what you've given us so far, I certainly have no questions about the folks that are on the building committee, no questions about your thought to go with that particular architect, and no questions with this particular budget.
Okay.
Now, does anyone else on the board have any questions about any of those items?
None.
No?
No? Okay.
Very well
All right.
presented.
So let me just take a few minutes because once we get over this hurdle, we'll be back again. So next steps, after we've agreed on the payment schedule and sorted out all of the clouds surrounding that, we'll execute the contract. The library trustees have that authority. Then the building committee will recommend a construction manager. We haven't selected the construction manager yet. One was used to prepare the cost estimate, but we still have some things to sort out with them. So that's step 3. Step 4 would be approval of the construction manager by the library trustees. 5, once again, we would be back because RSA requires the payment schedule to be agreed between the selectmen and the library trustees. I would say that that's end May. We'll be back at the last meeting in May.
Okay. And just a question.
Yes.
What method of contracting are you using? Are you using design build or something else?
The way it's structured currently is the construction manager would be responsible. We have the guaranteed maximum price that you may remember. They would then break down the project into at least 2 dozen subcontracts. They would go out for bids, and they plan on Bowen, the company that we're talking to at the moment, would go out for with 5 companies in the hopes of getting 3 competitive bids. So each phase of the project would be competitively bid, and then that would pass through the approval procedure, eventually ending up on this table.
So what you're doing then is you're building off of known stamped plans rather than design build.
Yes, correct, because we don't start the bid process until we have the fully approved design in hand.
And have you made provision to run the plans by our building inspector?
Oh, yes. I've been talking to him all along.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I would assume here too that you're making no changes on church property or school property? You're staying directly just on library property?
Well, we're going to have an agreement with both because, as you recall, in regard to the school, they've agreed in principle to make 10 parking spaces available to us.
Yeah, no physical change.
No physical change. There are some people that would like us to consider a sidewalk between the school and behind the SAU building over to the library, but we've got a whole year to consider that.
Yeah.
That certainly wouldn't be front end. As far as the church is concerned, we're paving around the church, the parish house, with porous pavement. We may be putting in...
Now that, of course, will require planning board review.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they're on the next slide. We talk about coordination with the planning board.
Okay.
Okay, next slide.
And then this is it as far as the objective here is groundbreaking. So executing the contract with the construction manager, the trustees will do that. Finalizing the agreements with the school and church. We have in mind that the trustees will put together draft agreements for execution between the town and either the school or the church.
I was going to say, yes, that's important because the trustees don't have the authority to do that, only the selectmen.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, we've allowed for that. finalizing the design. Here's the planning board mentioned. Number 9, confirming the project will be within schedule and budget. Approving the final design, the trustees, and then 11, groundbreaking, which would be nice to have that in September. I say it would be nice, that's the plan. So any questions on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're finished with this. I think, Laura, if you're ready, I'd like to take you out of order. And instead of going through our minutes and things, we'll just take Laura out of order. I understand that you're here to talk to us about possible grant on Willowbrook.
Yeah, a couple of different things. Chip had alerted me to the last full meeting with the selectmen where the question came up on Willowbrook and whether there had been any documentation as to the problems with that culvert. So the first thing I wanted to do was bring in that documentation for you.
This is the one where the minutes clearly show that I pitched a fit.
You know, we all do once in a while. It happens to all of us.
And I fully admit I did.
So this was the assessment that was done. You'll remember that Thompson Brook was indicated as having native brook trout in it,
Okay.
which is why Great Bay Trout Unlimited was trying very hard to get the culvert fixed on Winnicott Road. As part of that process, oops, I've got one extra page there. As part of that process, TNC, the Nature Conservancy, did a complete survey of all of the culverts in Greenland. So it might not have been just because of that, but it was a larger project for TNC. And where the paperclip is their priority list of culverts. And the second one, over here, the second one is number 5, and that's the one on Willowbrook. They've got pictures of it a little bit further down. And the problem with it is that it is slightly perched. When there's a lot of flow in there, as it is today, you can't really see that the bottom is perched, nor can you see that the bottom's rusted out. And so that study fails the culvert for all aquatic species movement. There's also a wetlands mapper. It's a wetlands mitigation mapper that DES has put out that also rates that culvert as failing for aquatic species movement between the 186 acres of wetlands above and Thompson Brook going down to the Winnicott River.
Laura, do you want to explain what perched means to the board? I know, but I'm not sure if they all, do you understand what perched is?
I do, but
Okay.
So
I assume it's on an angle.
it's up above the natural stream bed. So anything, unless you have really a significant amount of water in there, you're not, aquatic species aren't going to be able to get back and forth. I also got a letter from the Rockingham Conservation District that supports taking extra steps for this particular culvert. And we also have our coastal hazards report, which has been providing recommendations to go into our master plan. And in it, it specifically says improve designs for dams, culverts, bridges to maintain existing function, reconnect fragmented surface waters, wetlands, lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams, and protect high-quality habitat for aquatic organisms. And that's going in our master plan. I've got this all, I
Okay.
can give that to you, I can give it to Karen. So I just wanted, there's a lot of support for this, and I think that DES is supporting it as well. I called UNH, and so this is just 2 more minutes. I called UNH Stormwater Center, and they were the ones that told me that the Wetlands Bureau has an ARM grant, which is a mitigation grant, specifically for this type of project. I think it's 1.2 or
1.2 is available for the area for that river.
Not for
The river shed.
So this is the Piscataqua River Shed, and we were able to get the grant in. Sally
Found out about it at 3 o'clock, it was due at 4 o'clock.
We found out about it a little bit earlier than that.
Maybe 2:30.
It's a pre-proposal is all, and the reason we were able to get it in is because the town is already so far advanced. And when we submitted that, Sally said, this looks like a shovel-ready project. That's going to give it bonus points. That's going to help.
Okay. Just for everyone else. Willowbrook Avenue, if you know where that is.
Oh, yeah, I drove over it.
She's on Nantucket.
Multiple times a day.
Okay. Well, as you know, that has been identified behind Great Bay West as our number 2 worst spot in town. So that was highest up on our areas to repair.
Right.
And so we had that engineered through Underwood Engineering. And they had recommended replacing the 3-foot culvert with a 4-foot culvert. And then it went to the Conservation Commission, and they recommended instead of a 4-foot culvert that it become a box culvert, which has a differential in price of about $150,000, ergo pitched fit. That was me, and I fully admit that I'm the one that pitched the fit, because I thought that that was an awful lot of money without a real demonstrated gain for aquatic organisms. But certainly, to the extent that we can mitigate that $150,000 potential expense with the successful receipt of an ARM grant, that changes things entirely. Now, would the box culvert probably be a better long-term design? Probably. I don't know if it's $150,000 better, but whatever, if that works.
Right, and looking at very specific costs, it looks like the box culvert is $105,000. And that's the amount that we've shown for the grant, total cost.
Okay.
The town's cost that we would incur regardless, you know, the other culvert and the other piping and the guardrails, which we have to do one or the other, comes to $39,000. So the grant we're requesting from ARM is $79,000.
And change.
79 and change roughly.
Okay.
And that meets the 105 that would put in that whole box culvert.
Okay, and so if that can be successful, that will certainly help the taxpayers. And procedurally where we are, Underwood Engineers put in a joint permit request for Great Bay West and this location on Willowbrook. It is currently pending because those are 2 of the most complicated areas that we could have chosen from an engineering point of view on trying to get a wetlands permit. One being right in the tidal area of the bay, and the second one with all this difficulty. And so we don't have an answer back on our permit. It is fully engineered. We have a contractor, and we're waiting for a permit.
Yeah.
And
Some of the tree work has already started down there and things are flagged.
yes, well, and so thank you very much, Laura, for your effort on this. That certainly is a positive thing. Thank you. That will reduce my pitch a bit.
And we did receive an email back from DES already.
Yes.
Saying that the grant has been accepted, and we will go on to the next round, and we need to just send them up the hard copy, and.
We will go on to the next round, to the.
Right. It's accepted.
It's been accepted, so now
Which
they
is
have
the
to.
big thing, right. And then by May 15th, we will know if we have to do the full application.
Okay. And I can tell you tomorrow night here, there will be a work session with the residents of Great Bay West to try to resolve some of the ongoing issues with those folks, which are complicated. And so we're working hard on both of those issues as
appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I thought I might stay and see what else was going on.
Sure. No problem. Okay, next on our agenda, approval of minutes. First set of minutes, Monday, April 16th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 16th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Friday, April 20th, which was our special meeting having to do with Great Bay West. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 20th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Question,
Yes.
point. Is that where we talked about eminent domain?
Yes.
Okay, just a matter of correction in the minutes,
Okay.
it's spelled with an I-M, and it should be E-M.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. So if we could just have that spelling corrected. Eminent domain, not imminent.
You wish it was imminent.
Yes. But it is not imminent. Okay. With that correction then. Moving on to old business, an update from Coakley.
The only thing I have is what I read in the newspaper, that Jillian Lane had a very successful trip down to Washington. And the representative from the EPA she spoke with is going to come out and look at the Coakley site sometime in May.
Okay. I can tell you that the,
Oh, and, I'm sorry, and I have a meeting with the city of Portsmouth and Underwood Engineers on the preliminary review of their design on May 10th. I think it's May 10th in the afternoon,
okay,
3 o'clock on May 10th, yes. Because it's like as I come back from the Primex conference,
right then.
right then.
And I can tell you that the fish sampling program has not yet been approved by EPA. There's still some issues that are being resolved. But that fish sampling program is being used as a model for another fish sampling program in another part of the state. So, it's happening. Okay, any other questions on Coakley? No. Okay. Poll license.
Okay, this is the first step in amending the existing poll licenses that we have in place for New England Telephone doing business as Fairpoint and public service. The notices that we have right now, the licenses don't mention anything about taxation of conduit or taxation. So this is amending the licenses that are in place to include the reference to the statutes that have now been adopted. So the first step in that process is to hold a public hearing after notifying the utilities and putting the newspaper ad, which has been done. So I just need a motion to hold the public hearing on Monday, May 14th.
Okay, one question I had. When I looked at it, it seemed to be limited to aerial pole licenses. What about underground?
No, it's not. It's referencing the lines by the statute directly.
By that statute, but there's also a statute having to do with underground.
No, this is saying when minimum distance above and conduits and cables below the surface of the highway. This is for both.
Okay, so long as we're clear that we're amending both.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, because you're putting it in the newspaper, it's going to provide notice to any potential attachers.
Correct.
Because we have no idea who's attached up there.
We actually do now. Yep, we sent to Eversource Public Service Fairpoint asking them who their attachers are. And so we do have that list.
Okay.
They responded to us.
Okay. Then I think it would be a good idea before our public hearing to send the attachers by ordinary mail.
Done.
Got that? Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, I'll motion to hold a public hearing on Monday, May 14th, 2018, to hear comment from the utilities with regard to amending the existing poll license to conform with RSA 72:23 1B.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. Any other old business?
Yes, I'd like to go on record have the board go on record for the emergency measures that we took on Great Bay Drive West. We had that special meeting that those minutes were just approved a week ago Friday. And I think it's important that we go on record for the public to know what we did after learning of the dangerous situations and that potentially a fire truck couldn't get through. So we received an update that on Monday, the culvert was replaced and backfilled. The road was closed at that time for traffic from 9 to 3. The residents were notified. Currently, the road is as wide as it's allowed. It's 16 feet wide and is safe. The new culvert is all in. The road has not been paved. It has a gravel course, but the plants aren't open yet. So we're hoping as soon as May 1st, when the plants open, Barasa will be able to get that done. And erosion control is in place.
Okay, and it even survived our recent storm.
I went down there after the heavy rains, there was no difference in it. Held up good.
I was on it today and after it was down. Looks good. And the hot top plants are open. I mean, I got held up today in Exeter because they were putting down hot
Nate,
top.
Oh, did
Nate
they?
just got back from vacation today,
Oh.
so they're gonna give me.
Right,
I talked
because
to
the plant had stated May 1st, which
Yeah,
is
well,
tomorrow.
they lied.
Timmy, so Timmy's supposed to give me a schedule on when they're gonna do it, and I'll let you guys know.
And as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, tomorrow night there will be a work session with the residents to try to figure out what the situation is there and try to make some step forward towards a more permanent resolution.
So this is stopgap, more or less, to correct an unsafe situation?
Yeah, in an
Not-
emergency,
yeah,
yes.
not a.
Well, what had happened is the previous heavy storm had caused subsidence at that culvert to the point where the road was caving in on the side, and it would have been very difficult for a loaded truck to get over there safely.
Mhm.
So we took immediate steps, notified DES that we did so, to make that one crossing safer.
Karen, tomorrow, Vaughn said your phone is along the pictures, the before pictures, that the three of us took from
Yeah,
down there.
mhm.
We gotta send those to Underwood.
Okay.
Yeah. And when we took our action, we advised Underwood, and they've been helping us through the process.
I'd like to bring up, did we ever get a price on Portsmouth Avenue and Ann's Lane? At the last meeting, we were looking for a price on,
We need to go to bid on that.
yeah. All right, so we haven't gotten a price on that, okay, all right. The other thing was on Van Etten. Did we send a letter out to Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes, and he assured me that he would be taking care of it immediately.
Okay.
Any other?
This is only old business because Paul been trying to fix it last year. Portsmouth Ave, Newington Road, that hole is really old.
That's gotta be cut out.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It won't hold the patch the way it's
I'm
coming.
trying to figure out there's something else going on there.
There's a line that goes across the street to that fire hydrant.
That's what I'm wondering.
So maybe I'll give Portsmouth a call tomorrow to go down to see.
I mean, it went all to crap this year.
It's, every time we patch it, within 2 days, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way that's gonna get fixed is once, if it doesn't have a water leak, is to have it cut, sawn cut, and dug out and patched.
It's the,
Do you know what we're talking about, where the state and the town road comes to meet?
That was gonna be my next question. I thought Portsmouth Ave at that point was a state highway.
It's right where they connect.
Okay.
and it, right on the line, I'm not kidding you, right dead there. And I saw the line going to the hydrant, and I thought, you know what, I wonder.
I thought the same thing, because the patch won't last.
Yeah, so why don't you call?
I'll get hold of
See to
Portsmouth,
check
see if
that.
they can help me on
They put
that.
their ear to the cup and listen.
But it's their hydrants, and we pay for them, right?
Yeah, I think
We
you
rent
gotta leave
them.
them.
They turn
We
them
rent them, right.
That's supposed to start.
I think we, may have a leak there.
I went down there. The road's supposed to start. We're gonna
Okay.
go up to the bridge anyway.
Oh, okay.
If there is no other old business, we could move on to Karen's 2-week report.
Do you want me to go over the different things in there?
The things that, certainly we've already talked about bond council.
Yeah, we already talked about bond council. Affinity Lighting went through the town office, fire station, and police stations last week. And we forwarded them our electric bills on Wednesday. So when they get that report completed, they'll get it back to us on a conversion cost and how much Eversource can supply separately as a grant for the conversion to LED lighting. So that's still in that very same status as I'm waiting for all these pieces to come together. For FEMA, I've submitted the town's actual cost of $50,622 associated with the blizzard on March 13th. FEMA hasn't approved Rockingham County yet. They're gathering these numbers. So if the approval comes through, then we'll be able to get that 80% of that reimbursed, which is a good note because doing the bills, this last batch of bills finishes off the winter. And we had $420,000 budgeted for winter snow removal. We are at $433,000. The only saving grace is we had $108,000 budgeted for salt, and it was a much more snowy winter rather than icy winter, and we've only spent $60,000 in salt. So we have roughly $40,000 to get us through winter of November and December.
Okay. And this is also relevant to your earlier question of what contracts we let for summer maintenance, depending how much money we actually have.
Right. Well, I think that the summer maintenance, that's a separate line item, so I think we're good on that right now.
So far.
Right, so far.
Yeah.
Because the 50 would help us get through November, December.
And again, depending what happens at Willowbrook and what happens at
Correct.
Fairway West.
Right, I would not, we have $200,000 in that line item. I would not, and I mean, I met with the contractor for the roadside mowing today, that they're gonna get us on the schedule. But not until much later. I don't want it, because he was like, we can get you done right away. And I'm like, no, 'cause then we have to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't come back here until like July-ish.
And just while we're on this, Paul, can you give us a quick report of the amount of maintenance you've had to do post-winter, cleaning up trees and various other debris?
Probably in the last 2 weeks, it's been 80% of my time.
Okay.
We rented a chipper, we went around certain roads, and I mean, we haven't even put a dent in it. There's
Okay.
just so much roadside trees.
Yeah, because of the nature of the winter.
Yes.
A lot came down. And so this is really impacting on your time right now.
Yes.
It's also impacting on cost, because you and your helper, this is what you're doing, like you say, 80% of the time. Okay, so it's having an impact on everything else.
Yeah.
We did apply back in December for a warm zone EMS emergency grant. We were awarded that grant. That was $6,000 for the purchase of specific ballistic equipment, vests and helmets for the fire department. For EMS when they're in a warm zone, a crime scene that they need to enter that at that point may still be dangerous. So that equipment has now been ordered and it's all be grant covered. The town administration vehicle, our Taurus, was hit on Friday. It was in a legal parking space in the middle of the parking lot from returning from Great Bay Drive West. And
You looking at me?
because you're the one that parked it.
But I was in a parking
It was
space.
in a
Yes, you
legal
were.
parking space, yes, and it just wasn't someplace we normally parked it. One of the firemen did not look behind him when he pulled out of his parking space and hit the town car. So the insurance company is working on that.
Well, his insurance company,
His
I hope.
insurance company,
Right, We're not
yes.
gonna have to pay anything.
No, we are not. But it did sustain damage to the left front light and the body.
The quote was what, $3,400?
Oh, I hadn't seen the quote. You did that after I was gone.
Yeah, I went down just for our sake for the town,
Yeah,
had a guy look at it, and it was $3,400 worth of damage.
okay, thank you.
The whole vehicle isn't worth that.
Headlights
No, that's
No, this is the 2013 Taurus,
This is one of the newer one, it's not the old Crowns.
and it was the first Taurus that the police department got. They did not like it one little bit because it's little. So it didn't get as much use as some of the larger vehicles.
Yeah, it's a good vehicle for the town.
It's perfect for the
Yeah.
town. It was going to be like the town administration vehicle. It's basically the building inspector's car.
Okay.
So that's it on that.
Okay. Next was an information item on the final 2017-2018 school payment.
We have, generally during the school year, the school department can't take some of their payments because they have too much money that they're holding. So the treasurer will ask us to hold several payments, which they have. We have not had to do, we haven't done payments for like January, February, March. And so their year end is due next month. So at that point, we calculate what we have due to them prior to their June 1st end, which is $2,205,184. It should not be a problem. It's not going to be a problem at all. Liz had sent an email out saying that there were sufficient funds to pay that amount, and you wanted it as an agenda item.
Well, it's just more for information.
Yep.
Because of cash flow.
Right.
Again, I don't think if we are collecting taxes right at that point, you'll have cash.
Right, and so I pulled the summary balance sheet as of today, and available, we have funds of 3.313.
Okay.
We'll be paying the other current liabilities, which includes this $2.2 million to the school, is 2.86, leaving us still a cash balance of $1,041,000. Next meeting, we'll be signing the first half tax warrant for $4 million and change.
Okay, so cash will work out.
Yeah.
Since we went to the semi-annual tax billing, we haven't had to borrow in anticipation of taxes.
Okay. And that was the only reason I put it on, was just that information discussion. Okay. Timber tax warrant.
Okay, we have 2 timber tax warrants. It's not something we do very often. One is for Thurkin Fourth LLC, which is Tractor Supply, and the other one is for William Goodison on Bayside Road in Greenland, and that is for the new Bluebird storage. For Bluebird storage, they had an intent to cut that resulted in 40 tons of biomass chips, and their timber tax expense is $309.42.
Okay, with that in mind, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the timber tax warrant for Thurkin
No,
Development.
for Bluebird storage.
It, just on our thing, was put in one motion, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. All right, the other one that I wanted to explain, that it was 253 tons of biomass chips. This is a very late return, and it took several times for us to get the owner to return his report of cut. And so it's well over a year late, so it's being charged at Doomage times 2. So that bill is $1,065.54.
Okay. All right, then I'll move to approve the timber tax warrant for Thurkin Development in the amount of $1,065.54. And Bill Goodison, Bluebird Storage, in the amount of $309.42. And thank you, Karen, for following up on that Marsh Farm Way.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's 4 sheets of paper to sign.
Mr. Sanderson, may I ask a question
Sure.
about, this has to do with cutting trees?
Yes.
Okay, are you taxed if you cut trees? Is that, I'm thinking for the library, because we will do.
You don't have enough to worry about.
Okay, thank you.
That
I
was-
didn't know if that was a new
If
expense.
you're cutting acres,
Okay, acres.
yeah, if it's less than, if, you know, you're just cutting
Yeah.
3 or 4 trees.
That's really just maintaining property. That's not That's not what timber taxes are.
Okay, thank you.
Right, because it would be like at $21 a ton, you might not even have a ton, and then you pay 10% of that, so you'd be getting a tax bill for $2.10, and you're tax exempt.
Okay.
And you're gonna have to pay to have the trees removed, you don't have too many.
Okay, yeah.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
just, I thought, oh no, another one.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we're also pass it back down. Okay, next item, veterans credit.
Okay, this is a veteran's credit for a resident that's qualified based on years served and New Hampshire residency. It's a regular credit, not in all veterans.
So, a motion.
Make a motion to approve the veterans tax credit in the amount of $500 for the resident of 10 Ralston Avenue.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
And just note that this is for 2019. The deadline is passed for the 18 credits.
There he is.
There you
I know we are watching where you're electrocuted too many times working on the equipment.
go. That explains it. No, where's the other one?
Yeah, right?
Okay, we'll finish that in a second on signing. The next is any other new business. We took care of Laura's situation. Does anyone have any other items of new
I think we
business?
have an abatement.
Oh, an abatement, that's
Yes.
right, thank you. Here it is. This is an abatement that came in, I put it in the boxes, it came in while I was gone. But it is a prorated assessment for damaged buildings. So this is in regard to the fire on Portsmouth Ave.
Okay,
So it's an abatement of $927.53 because the tax year ended March 31st, so there was 35 days of no value at all to the, no use of the property at all.
so that being the case,
Yeah, we need a motion to approve the abatement of assessment to damaged buildings to ABC Portsmouth Ave LLC, map U425A 437 Portsmouth Ave, in the amount of $927.
So moved.
I knew that exactly. That's why I did it nice and slow. Okay.
so
Signed.
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Good.
That's the way the meetings always used to go until I started writing them all down for you.
Do we have any other items of new business? None appearing, we can move on to manifests.
I move we approve the attached payroll number 9, pay date May 3rd, 2018, period April 16, 2018 through and including April 29, 2018, gross amount excluding payroll liabilities of $53,699.85.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, you signed that one?
No.
I thought you signed that.
Yeah.
No, you hold the inside.
Oh, thank you.
I move we approve the attached manifest for the general fund accounts payable of unpaid bills detail as of May 3rd, 2018 in the amount of $262,104.25. A total of $160,000 is included as a Greenland School District partial payment.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one's opposed, please vote. No other manifests?
No.
Any other items to come before this honorable meeting? No. None
Make a
appearing.
motion, that
To adjourn.
make a motion, we adjourn at 8:05.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.